Ano ba siya?
Ayan!
Ayan!
Right! Ayun na si Gerald,
Hello!
napakaaga niya. Hello.
Andito na si Gerald, grabe.
Hindi ko alam
Wait
kung kanina pa niya yung chat, pero ayan, nandiyan na daw siya. Sige,
lang.
pero 0 pa tayo. So, let's wait for some
Yeah,
people pa
let me wait lang
before
na
we start.
tayo.
Sure, sure thing. Kasi ang gamit ko phone.
Okay.
Ayan.
Kaya pala parang vertical yung ano mo.
Yeah, mabagal kasi yung laptop ko, kaya ganun talaga, ma'am. Di pa ako nag-upgrade.
Alam mo, naalala ko bigla yung nag-live kayo, tapos iniwan niyo si Trish.
Naalala. Ano nga ba yun? Arusha yata yun. Arusha niya.
Grabe.
Tapos hindi
Akala
alam
ko,
gagawin niya.
akala ko iiyak si Trish, yung totoo.
Kawawa. Kawawa naman nila lang na iwanan mag-isa. Ayan, meron na tayong 2 viewers. Hello.
Hello, friends!
We're just waiting for, ayan. Ayan, may mga comments na nag-appear. Ayan, hello. Hi, Bea. Hello.
Ayan na, hello.
And then si Reg. And then si Reg. Hopefully, tapos na ni Reg kasi kahapon hindi pa daw niya tapos. So, hopefully, he finish it. Bea says na hindi pa daw niya natapos yung book. Pero makikinig siya sa discussion. We're going to try naman for this to be not spoilery. Yeah. And I think naman yung mga happening sa book, it's not really that spoilery because it's a middle grade now.
Hindi naman siya like yung tipong kung mas-spoil ka sa level ng The Poppy War, mga gano'n.
Oo, hindi naman. Sobrang simple, parang simple. Wala namang mind-blowing dito na twist na ano. Ayan, almost done na daw si Reg. Ayan, we have 4 na. Alright, so again, hello everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for being here. We had to move the live show today because Kate had a problem yesterday. So,
Sorry.
yeah, that's why. But it's okay. We're still ready. It's still weekend. Hello, hi. Hello. Hello, Ina. Ayan na sila. So, for tonight, this is going to be the first ever live show of In Cosmic Dreams. And I'm just so happy that we are finally doing it. And before I even began to like what do you call this, announce the live show, the book club itself, I already asked Kate about my fate according to the butterfly because I know that this is her favorite middle grade book. And of course I am with my special guest co-host for tonight, Kate from Your Tita Kate. Would you like to say hello to everyone?
Hi, everyone. So, like Kat said, so we're going to be talking about My Fate According to the Butterfly by Gail Villanueva, which is one of my favorite, if not my super favorite middle grade books ever. So, sa sobrang intense fan that I am of this book, I think maybe a few guys who are watching were part of the blog tour maybe that we organized last year, and then of course I got to know Gail as a friend other than just an author that I'm a fan of. So I super intensely love her work, and I'm also excited for her next book, which comes out next year.
Yes, we are very excited. Sugar and Spite, right? So it's going to come out next year, and I'm very excited because this is my first time to read this book, and later we're going to talk about all my feelings and thoughts. But yeah, hello Ina. Again, sabi ni Ina hindi pa daw niya nababasa yung book. Again, this live show would not really that spoilery because there's really nothing to spoil. We're just going to talk about like the different topics discussed in the book and then some events and the characters. But with the plot, it's not really that big of a deal, in my opinion. So I think you will not be spoiled at all. So hello, Chloe, and we also have here Donna. Hi, Donna.
Hi,
So
Donna!
we were just talking about Donna. Lagot tayo kay Donna. May expose na naman si Donna sa live show na to. Lagi na lang. Okay, so anyway, again, we're going to talk about this book. This is a middle grade by the Filipino author Gildy Villanueva. And I think Kate would just tell us the overview or the synopsis about this book.
Okay, so my fate, according to the butterfly, is all about a 12-year-old girl, or rather, an 11-year-old girl named Sab, and she's going to turn 12 soon. But on a few days before her birthday, she actually sees a black butterfly, and we all know that in Filipino superstitions, when you see a black butterfly, and dami niyang meanings. It could be that may nag-visit sa'yo na relative who has passed away. Pero we also have another more sinister meaning na seeing a black butterfly means that you're about to also die, or something bad is going to happen to you. So si ate mong girl, she decided to go with the negative interpretation of that superstition. So she feels like mamamatay siya before her birthday. So she sort of comes to terms with that na she's going to die. But gusto niya, bago siya mamatay, she wants her family to make up with each other. Kasi ang nangyari is, her parents are separated, but they're friendly with each other, they're civil. So kahit na hiwalay ang magulang nila, and she and her older sister Nadine are staying with their mom, kahit na hiwalay sila, they still have a very good relationship. But then, suddenly, they stopped having that good relationship kasi biglang naging estranged si Nadine from yung father nila.
Mm-hmm.
So, hindi alam ni Sab bakit, pero ang alam niya lang is gusto niya na yung last birthday niya is her entire family is together, and hindi yan mangyayari kung hindi magbabati si Nadine, si ate Nadine niya, and yung dad niya. So that's what the book is all about, her trying to find out ano nga ba yung naging dahilan na tag-away sila ni ate Nadine niya and yung dad niya, and trying to bring them back together. So the plot is very family driven, pero it's also influenced a lot by the political climate in the Philippines because it also touches on issues like the drug war, which is actually a central factor of the plot of the book. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Actually, that's perfect. So the book is again, it's very family driven. The You will think at first that it is just about the family, but in fact, it goes beyond that. It talks about a lot of societal and political issues that is actually currently happening in the Philippines up to this day. So it's a really nice book. If you haven't read that one yet, guys, we hope that before or after this live show you would pick it up because it's really good. Anyway, so first off, we're going to talk about how do you feel about the whole ambience of the book, like the setting and the vibe? Because personally, when the first line was like, ano nga ba yung first line? Parang natakot ako doon sa first line. Teka lang ah. Parang sabi niya dito, yun, sabi niya, if you see the butterfly,
Somebody
somebody you know will
knows.
die. Like, at first, it was kind of scary because you will feel like, okay, is it like this kind of vinaigrette that is kind of dark or something like that? So it's because she's going to talk about the butterfly like an omen for death. So it will sound like it's kind of scary, but actually the vibe is, I think um it's scary a little bit, but it's also funny, and also it will take you into serious topics. But the funny thing is that yung humor kasi dito ni Sab at saka nung best friend niya is so funny. Like, you're really like having this point of view from a 12-year-old kid, and it's just really so funny to talk. Like, they're talking about one another. Like, sabi niya, I remember sabi dito ni Sab na kailangan niyang mag-write ng last will and testament kasi kasi iniisip niya na mamamatay na talaga siya. So parang, sobrang funny lang. Tapos sabi niya, siguro si Pepper, yung best friend niya, siguro si Pepper na lang yung makakakuha ng lahat ng toys ko, mga ganon. So parang it's funny, but also it takes you to serious topics later on in the book. So for you, Kate, how do you feel like the ambience or the vibe of the book?
Alam mo, the plot, the way that the vibe that the book gives you, it actually makes me think of like one of those indie Filipino films na it will get praised so much because it's very nice and it's very woke. Alam mo yon, like
Mm-hmm.
yung mga, like, you know how we have MMFF, right? And then
Yeah.
usually it's all your stereotypical, there's a shake, rattle, and roll. There's something with the Soto that we do not talk about. And then there's a Chris Aquino movie. But then sometimes you have an MMFF movie that's like it really makes you think, and that's the one that people end up talking about on Twitter. It feels sort of like that, like that heartwarming movie that has a lesson that everyone in the family or every Filipino from all walks of life can enjoy and get something from. Or
Mm-mm.
yung like the kind of movies that you see at like Cinemalaya and pista ng pelikulang Pilipino. Yung mga ganun, that's the vibe really that I got from it na it's very Filipino for one thing.
True.
'Di ba?
Yeah.
It's you really will not mistake it as being anything other than, and I don't mean to sort of add division between Filipinos who grew up here and our diaspora brethren. Pero when you read this book, hindi mo talaga you will really instantly know that the writer is someone who grew up here. Na dito sa
Exactly.
Pilipinas lumaki and dito sa Pilipinas na yung formation ng character niya. Kasi it's very unapologetically Filipino. I keep throwing that phrase around whenever I describe honestly yung books ni this one, for example, or yung books ni Kay Belioso. But for this one, you really felt that kasi every aspect of it relatable siya for you. I mean, even the cover. Kasi like when I was 12 years old, ganito yung itsura ko. ganito yung haircut ko. Tapos ganito din ako magsuot ng sando.
Parang we all had like that sandal
That's
with a
very
collar strap and then that haircut o kaya shorter than that. We all had
diba?
that. Yung
Tapos
girl yeah.
especially for us mga 90s kids, ganito yung haircut natin. Tapos may mga butterfly clip dito sa gilid.
Yeah, very, very us. Resonates
Diba?
Filipino girls.
Oo. Kaya I really
Yeah,
love the vibe of this book. Like you will really it really paints that image in your head. Sobrang very very
agree.
very Filipino.
Agree. Agree. With the setting, it's very Filipino. Like every chapter you will feel like this is written for and in the Philippines. Yung again, hindi naman namin na try to divide the Filipinos here and abroad, but you will like literally every scene you will know that the author really experienced everything here in the Philippines, like very relatable for us. So yon. And then let's talk about the characters of the book and then their relationships and then their dynamics. Do you have any character that you'd like to specifically talk about? Or let's start with Sab if you'd like to start with Sab.
Sige. So, si Sab, I really love, well, I want to talk kasi about Sab and Nadine together.
Okay, go
The
ahead.
thing kasi about them is that I really love their sibling relationship. Like, it's very realistic. The thing kasi sometimes that I find frustrating about contemporary books is that you can tell that the author is a single child or is not, doesn't have siblings. Kasi the sibling interactions are weird or not genuine or they sound stilted. Pero with Sab and with Nadine, you don't get that feel. It
Yeah,
feels really genuine na magkapatid sila. And like, as an ate, ramdam na ramdam ko minsan yung frustration ni Nadine kay Sab.
true.
Kaya sabihin mo si Sab yung protagonist nito. So, syempre, you're getting the thoughts of Sab. Point of view niya na masyadong overprotected yung ate niya, masyadong OA yung ate niya pagdating sa safety, and all of that. Pero, as an ate, as a panganay, mas nare-relate ako kay Sab. Kasi parang, Sab, oh my God, umuwi ka nga. Parang ganun minsan yun. Pero the thing that I really loved about the relationship as siblings is that you can see how similar they are to each other in terms of yung pagka-investigative nila. Kasi,
Mm-hmm.
diba, si Nadine, her character is a journalist, or a student journalist, rather, who does a lot of pieces and writes a lot about drug addiction, the drug war, all of that.
Mm-mm.
So this is a little bit spoilery, pero not so much. But the theme of addiction and drug abuse is involved in bakit hindi na magkasundo or magkaaway na si Nadine sa kung tatay nila.
Mm-mm.
So that's why it affects a lot her work as a journalist. and she investigates a lot and is parang very determined siya to find the truth, ganon. To find the right answers and always seek justice and doing the right thing. And may pagkagana din si Sam. On a smaller scale naman, of course, considering that she's only 11, 12, and her ate Nadine is already a college student. But it's there. So, like, I really
Mm-mm.
love that comparison that they have that same personality in terms of
Mm-mm.
what to find the right answer, the correct thing to do. And it's very evident that at their heart, at their core, Nadine and Sam are both genuinely good girls. Now they're people, they're both young girls who really just want to do the right thing for their parents and for each other, for the people that they care about. So
Mm-mm.
I really love that portrayal kasi we don't often get protagonists who have that sort of growing up, coming of age experience who are Filipino. So I really
Yeah.
appreciated the characterization of Sab and Nadine. And it really throughout the entire book, you really can't help but root for Sab. Na like you want her
Yeah.
to win, you want her to find out what's happening, ano yung nangyari sa dad niya, bakit sila magkaaway na ni Nadine, ganun, ganun.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with it's very natural. I'm also an ate and I have a younger sister and dalawa lang kami. So parang I feel alam niyo yung parang sobrang natural nung dynamics silang dalawa. It's not something na pilit when it comes like you can really tell that, di ba, sometimes ate or the elder sibling would always like keep secrets from their younger siblings and so that. So parang I could really definitely relate to Nadine in that part. And I also love the dynamic within the family because it's very Filipino. I'm not saying that we all have like broken family, but it is like one in every 10 I think in every 10 family in the Philippines like they were separated but not they are not legally annulled at most times because of course we don't have divorce and annulment is pricey here in the Philippines because personally I came from a broken family so my parents got separated when I was in high school. So I had that, I could really see myself with them na my parents are friendly. So with yung parents din nila. But there is this really gap that you built with the other parent kung saan ka hindi nakatira. Like they have that gap and it feels really realistic and natural. Like I feel like that family their family is real somewhere here in the Philippines. Like they are really real. It feels so authentic to me. And with the relationship of Sab to Nadine and then to her mom na parang hindi naman absentee pero kasi siya yung working parent sa na talagang nagpapalaki. So parang ako, nakatira ako sa mom ko. I mean, kami dalawang magkapatid. So, alam niyo yun, parang sobrang relatable niya in a way that you know na, okay, this is a Filipino family. You will definitely see that. And also, my stepdad din siya. I also have a stepdad. So, can you see the resemblance of me and Sab and Nadine is very, very similar. So, with the dynamics then, yung kapag bata kasi sa family, hindi lahat sinasabi sa'yo. So parang it's very Filipino. Like you will talagang tataguan ka ng secrets kapag ikaw yung bata sa family. So I think it's very natural and realistic, very authentic na Filipino culture. Ganito talaga tayo sa Pilipinas. Yung the adults are not treating the child as an adult as well. Hindi katulad 'di ba sa US like they talk about it and all that stuff. But here, ganun talaga sa atin eh, no? So it's very realistic to me. And then what can you say about Sab and Pepper's friendship, which is one of my favorites in this book?
I
I
love their friendship. It's very gago.
I sorry, I really stand Pepper with all my heart in this book. Like very unapologetic as well.
I love Pepper. Alam mo, natatawa ako kasi like, it's very clear naman na the reason bakit ginawa si Pepper is so that Pepper is the stand-in for the
Mm,
international non-Filipino audience. It's very
true.
halata. Every time something happens in the book that someone who's not Filipino would not understand ano yung nangyayari doon. Si Pepper yung magtatanong, ano yung ginagawa niyo doon?
True.
Para magkaroon siya ng explanation. So, na-appreciate ko din naman yun. Pero, Pepper evolved beyond just being the audience stand-in into her own character. And it's so funny kasi like honestly, the entire time I was reading the book, yung impression ko talaga kay Pepper is she's a very gago person. Like she's the kind of little girl she's the kind of little girl talaga na magiging gago teenager and gago young woman later in the future. Yung and alam mo yung mga yung mga stereotypical Filipino movies where the protagonist always has this best friend who's like, "Huy, Mare, ang naman, ang harot mo." Parang I feel like Pepper will become that kind of person.
I really love her representation in the book. Aside from I get the like she's like the international stand-in, but also like yung dun kasi laging kino-compare ni Sab yung sarili niya when it comes to her complexion and then yung features niya. So parang there is underlying message of colorism in here na parang pag si Pepper yung nagpa-charm, laging pagbibigyan siya ng tao, but pag si Sab parang feeling niya hindi kasi brown skin siya. But aside from that, I really think that their friendship is really fun and it's just so authentic. Like tama sabi mo na parang siya yung klase ng best friend na balang araw kung hindi ka i-chismisan, i-influence ka into something bad. Like di ba parang kasi nga Sab is a really good girl, like she always follows or obeys her parents at saka si Nadine, but Pepper is like the liberal white girl or I mean girl that came from the States.
Si Sab yung kunwari like they're in college already, so naka-dorm na sila, so medyo may dorm sila, tapos lalabas sila, pupunta sila, let's pretend COVID is over, pupunta sila sa club, gano'n. Si Sab yung magsasabi ng bawal sabi ng kasi may curfew
Conservative.
Tapos si Pepper yung magsasabi ng, hindi, ano ka ba? Sabihin mo na lang kasi sa nanay mo, nagagawa ka ng project sa bahay mo. Ganon!
I really love her. Like, and then one time parang si Sab yung nag-aya na, ito yung gawin natin, gawa tayo ng parang something bad or ganyan. Tapos parang si Pepper yung nagtaka na, oh, really? Sigurado ka ba dyan? Tapos parang, imagine ko siya as yung best friend mo na parang pinagtitripan ka kapag gumagawa ka ng masama. Yung parang, parang inaasar ka, parang gano'n. And it's really fun. It's really fun. I mean, I really appreciate the character, how character of Pepper was developed in the story. It adds really something. It adds spice because again, Nadine and
Pepper spice.
Ayoko nga. Pepper as a spice. Well, truth. Nga no, baka naman yun yung inisip ni Gail.
Yes, Pepper.
Kasi nga as we were saying, si Nadine kasi and Sab were like genuinely good-natured girls. So parang Pepper is like the pasaway and all that. So it's really fun to read her like dialogues and their conversations.
Alam mo, natawa ako sa sinabi ni Gerald na Pepper is his jam. Kasi parang, oo.
Ay, oo nga. Ay, okay. Sorry, hindi namin masyadong napabasa yung comment.
Hindi kasi totoo naman Pero alam mo, I really also, kasi binanggit mo na rin yung sinabi mo about how Pepper is used as to portray a colorism. Mm-hmm. So alam naman natin here in the Philippines na we have a colonial leftover bias towards fair skin. And I mean the phrase pa lang na kutis mayaman, di ba?
Yes.
I hate that phrase so much. And we have all of these whitening products and all of that, etc. So the way it's portrayed na Pepper gets preferential treatment, and then that scene also, yung naglalakad sila sa daan, tapos ang daming nag-aalok at kay Sab na bumili ng whitening. Kasi brown sila. That's something I'm sure that resonates with a lot of Filipino kids. I mean, there's a lot of us who are like sinasaway tayo na wag maglaro in the street kasi iitim and all of that. And I appreciate the portrayal, and siguro din because it needed the character of someone who doesn't understand, someone who's not Filipino. So there's the explanation of why are these things ganito to Pepper so that international audiences can understand. That's ko na naman yun. Yung hindi naman siya criticism of the book, but like uh, what is more realistic in my opinion lang naman, at least, what is more realistic in terms of colorism in the Philippines is if Filipino din siya, pero tinatawagan siyang maganda kasi maputi. Kasi we have a lot of that na, I mean, I'm not saying naman na hindi maganda. But we have a lot of that internal bias na we say like, ang ganda naman ng batang to or ang ganda naman ng babae. So, because
Mm-mm.
instantly yun agad yung nasa isip because they're fair-skinned.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, to this day, there are still a lot of Filipinos who think mukha kang foreigner as a compliment. So like, diba? That
Yeah.
that that is such a thing that is so prevalent even nowadays na makakarinig ka ng like if you're a particularly pale Filipino and then someone tells you hindi ka mukhang Filipino, you'll take it as a compliment. Ang
Yeah.
dami pa rin nangyayari na ganun eh. So like that's more of what happens rather than like an out and out white person
Mm-mm.
being given
Mm-mm.
although that does happen naman.
Yeah.
White an all out white person being given preferential treatment kasi maputi siya. Pero
Mm-mm.
the more common example really is a Filipino who takes advantage or is flattered by the fact na hindi siya mukhang Filipino.
Filipino.
Oo.
Or yung parang sinasabi that, or may lahi ka ba? Kasi ang ano mo eh, mukha kang foreigner. Or like parang your film or whatever. So I think, yeah, it's a valid, siguro you can say it a criticism in the book or could be an additional element in the book to establish the colonial mentality and the colorism in the Philippines. So since we're talking about it already, let's dive into the serious topics that are being discussed in the book. And actually, I was telling Kate earlier before we go live that when I was reading this book, I'm not really into. I mean, hindi ko masyadong napapansin that there are a lot of deep topics being discussed. Like I noticed na merong topic about it, but hindi ko na realize na ganun pala siya kadami. Like I feel like it's not really that heavy. If you are looking for like a middle grade book that is appropriate for middle grades, of course, that are you want them to understand something that's happening in the Philippines politically and society in the society. I think this one is not really that heavy. So when I was reading this, hindi ako nabigatan, kumbaga, in short, hindi ako nabigatan. But then, I was listing, sabi ko, ano ba yung mga diniscuss na topic dito? And I was looking for my tabs kasi tinab ko yung mga political and societal issues. And then I was shocked kasi I wrote down like 10 topics that were politically and problems in the society in the Philippines. And I think we can all definitely relate to all of this. So I have here again, we talked about colonial mentality with colorism that, yeah, it's very, I think nabubuli tayo ng bata tayo dahil ang itim-itim natin. Especially nga kung 90s baby kayo or 90s kid kayo, kung medyo, mga dati pa tayong, nung elementary and high school, I remembered na I always wanted to be have fairer skin. Gusto ko lagi mag-silk papaya kasi ang pinanganak talaga akong maitim. So parang ganon. Right now, we are trying to empower brown-skinned women in the country. But then we have this colorism or colonial mentality that na-experience pa din ni Pepper at this point. So I think that's one topic or issue that was discussed in the book. And yeah, we talked about that. And then also, the book has a topic about the things that are happening in the current administration with drug war and, of course, the drug abuse. So what can you say about that, Kate?
Well, if you're expecting like an outright discussion of the drug war, that's obviously not going to happen. Una-una, this is a middle grade book.
Yes.
So if you've read, for example, Patron Saints of Nothing, it's not gonna be as intense as Patron Saints, because Patron Saints of Nothing was very stressful. So it's not as intense as that. What I will say for this is that it humanizes the drug war issue. So I mentioned earlier that the drug war has something to do, or rather, sorry, not drug war, drug addiction has something to do with bakit hindi na nag-uusap si Nadine tsaka yung tatay nila.
Mm-mm.
I'm not gonna elaborate anymore para hindi siya spoilery, but like it makes you aware of how addiction affects a family and
Mm-hmm.
how addicts aren't, you know, evil people who just um have no hope left and like, you can just leave them to die and bahala ka sa buhay mo. Although yes, there is a point in your life where you have to consider your own safety or the safety of your children, which is also what happens in the book. But at that point, before you reach that point, and even after, the one thing that this book really tells you is that don't forget that addicts are humans
Mm-hmm.
and that addiction is a disease that has societal roots that can be addressed through grassroots programs. Hindi lang siya, the way to get rid of addiction as a problem isn't to just like, clean sweep handle it as a criminal problem. The drug war, essentially. And basically, it's talking about how it humanizes, it brings it down to a level where you can see how it affects a family and how incarceration, death, all of that isn't necessarily the answer. Incarceration in particular, may be sort of last resort to the nth level be a way of addressing addiction. But before that, there are so many other ways that you have to try to address this problem muna if you don't want to ruin a family more than they've already been hurt by this addiction. And it's
Mm-mm.
treating it as like this problem na you have to handle with an iron fist only hurts the families that you're trying to protect. So
Mm-mm.
that's what I appreciate about the handling of the drug war in this book. Na it makes it human, it makes it real. So rather than the thing that's difficult about looking at the drug war from a national point of view is that when you see it as statistics, as numbers, parang magiging immune ka. Like,
Yeah.
um, I'm sure lahat tayo, when the drug war started, when the Duterte's administration started, lahat tayo na-shock sa mga stories of may iniwan na bangkay sa gilid na naka-tape and then may cardboard na wag tularan, drug pusher, gano'n, gano'n. At the start of it, lahat tayo na-shock. And then as time went by and it got reduced to numbers, yes, we were still upset, we were still shocked, we were still outraged, pero nawala yung human factor of it because all we see now is numbers and all we see is headlines. So it makes it this abstract problem, which is why also I really appreciate photos like familiar ka ba Kat sa yung that photo of that wife na niyayakap niya yung husband niya na binaril and then they're in the middle of the street.
I
It's
I
a very famous way. Hanapin ko lang. Kasi that's
Sige,
perfect
go.
example of what I was thinking na um, how sometimes items like that can humanize the problem and this book does that also. Wait lang. Hanapin ko yung photo kasi gusto ko talagang
Sige, go ahead. So, ayan, sige, habang hinahanap mo, dudugtungan ko yung sinabi mo that I think the explanation on how Gail Villanueva actually discussed or handled drug abuse, drug addiction, and drug war in the book is very appropriate to the middle grade. I guess I will just repeat ko lang sinabi ni Kate that it's not like patron saints of nothing that outright na merong mga articles and all that stuff. So this is more like pinapakita that
this one.
there is something. Oh yeah, I remember that one.
This one. So
Yeah.
this photo does it for like on a larger scale, obviously, and for adults, since it's a very bloody, triggering photo. But
Mm-mm.
this one does that for middle grade. So like what we're saying now, it makes it appropriate,
Yeah.
digestible for that age range. It makes it
True.
human. So parang hindi na siya problem abstract out there na nangyayari. It becomes right there, central to your
Mm-mm.
face. May nakikita kang pamilya na naa-affect because of this problem na pwedeng, if it weren't for a twist of fate, baka it could have been na ikaw yung andon, it could have been na yung tatay mo yung andon, yung nanay mo
True.
yung iyak doon. So
So
it
true.
makes it's a lesson in compassion, ang opinion ko.
True. All right. I agree with that. And also I feel like because we have this dahil lumaki tayo sa culture that we don't want we are trying to say to the children na to avoid doing drugs and all that. So it's basically in our mind it's a stigma that it is, of course it's morally incorrect, right? You will get to you will be in jail if you're using or if you're selling, of course, illegal drugs. But then this book is not tolerating that in any way. The author is not enabling that. It's just it's trying to explain how it affects a family, how it affects a human person, because they're all humans and they should undergo in the right process, and they should get the right help, like professional help with rehab centers here in the Philippines. So I think it's very important, just like every mental illness, depression and anxiety, just like everything else, it can be they can undergo to the right people, to the professional, so that parang para sa akin it opens the mind of the readers, that let's not put our mind na okay, dahil ginawa niya to ibig sabihin deserve niyang mamatay or deserve niyang ganito yung mangyari sa kanya. So I think it's very important in the book, although again we're trying to say that the author is not tolerating it. It's just trying to explain that there was something that's really happening here in the Philippines. And we all know na it's a matagal ng issue sa atin even before pa naman with the current administration. It's just that right now kasi it's very naging a topic na talaga siyang issue discussion because of again the uplan tokhang ng presidente natin. So that's why we're talking about that. Anyway, and then thank you for that one. We also have here one of the, I mean, it's very realistic, but it's funny for me because we talked about this also before we go live. Gail also discussed in the book like the transportation problems in the Philippines. It's just really so funny. If you don't know yet, because Sab and her family is like in this privileged kind of state that they don't use public transportation, so they have like service and also they have cars and all that. And then for the first time, Sab and Pepper used MRT. And then of course the MRT stopped. So it was just really so funny. I mean, the kids are like almost 12 and they experience the problems in the transportation, and I feel like it's very realistic. Sabi ko kay Kate, I haven't experienced it yet, thankfully. But she had, right? You
Months
have
in my
experienced.
entire life, nakalakad na ako sarili.
It's
Oh
really
my God! Tapos alam mo ba ba, alam mo kung saan nag-breakdown yung MRT?
sa
Buendia.
Wendy. Oh my gosh, Wendy.
Alam mo, hindi ko alam kung ano yung mas nakakatakot eh. Yung nag-breakdown siya sa loob ng tunnel or kung mag-breakdown siya dun sa like, Guadalupe.
Mataas.
Oo.
Oh my God, Guadalupe. Ang
Yeah,
taas.
mahulog ka dun. Yung, yung fall, yung mag-break ng fall mo, kasi Christopher, tangina.
I can't. Guadalupe. My gosh. Sana wala naka-experience na sa inyo marintuan ng MRT sa
Oo,
Guadalupe.
tayo.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Tapos, ano
actually,
mo ba, sorry, like, mag-share ulit ako ng isa pang MRT story kasi nakakaloka siya talaga. This was 2015, and I was driving, I was headed to Rojas Boulevard from my job in BGC.
mm-hmm.
So I was driving along EDSA, and then, di ba, if galing kang EDSA and then you're going to Rojas Boulevard, pupunta ka talaga sa dulo, di ba? Yung taas. So that's where I was. And then, dun sa part ng EDSA na with MRT, with the Taft MRT station, nakita ko, diba, there's like, this is the end of the list
Yes.
of the MRT. Nakita ko yung train nakaganon.
Oh my gosh. Yung lampas sa
Oo, as in,
lampas?
nag-overshoot siya and then part of the front car was like hanging over ng ganon.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. Oh my gosh.
So,
Diba?
there were no people anymore inside. But I googled the accident and like parang na out of control or something yung isang train, kaya Gumanon siya. Oh my God! Sabi ni Bea sa comments, naka-experience daw siya sa Guadalupe.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, Bea. I can't imagine. Oh my gosh, nakakatakot pa naman dun. Oh my gosh. Sabi niya, mainit pa daw.
Oh my God. So, since mainit pa, so nagre-radiate yung amoy ng Pasig pa.
Pasig. Oh my gosh.
No, ayoko na. Alam mo, tama si Reg. If, like, I didn't live in Manila, and then nangyari sa akin yun.
Imagine. Totoo. Totoo yan.
Bitch, why?
Totoo yan. But it's something, again, may share kanina si Kate about, like, the editors of Scholastic actually didn't believe Kale that this is happening in the Philippines. Like, what?
Ayaw maniwala kasi syempre the editors from Scholastic are American, diba? Tapos parang plinag nila yung scene na yun na nag-stop yung MRT as like, is this realistic? Parang hindi naman ka panipaniwala na mangyayari to. And Gail was like, yes, nangyayari to.
It happens. This is really happening. Ayan, no, si Chloe, sabi niya, hindi kasi internship niya, and single freaking day to Miguel halos it almost every day. And again, the thing about the book is that dahil first time nila sa makasakay ng MRT, nasaktuhan na doon nasira yung MRT, and they had to walk, and like siguro tanghaling tapat yata yon or something kasi mainit. So
yung Bea, oh my God.
Wait lang. Pero mas kasi merong bridge doon before Carriedo Station, I think na medyo may crack na, oh my gosh, so may Carriedo. Okay, I know that. May crack na. Tapos naglalakad yung mga tao. Imagine that.
The last time na sumakay ako ng yung LRT na yun, yung Baclaran Monumento line.
Wow.
College pa kasi ako nun eh. Kasi when I was in college, wala pa, or kaunti pa lang yung FX na na Loton, susukat yung biyahe. And my first year kasi, my second year up to fourth year, nagdo-dorm ako, so I didn't commute so much anymore. Pero yung first year ko, since I only had morning classes, uwian lang ako, and I used to take the LRT. And I remember that LRT being like so old. Alam mo yun, like, feeling ko talaga na nag-exist na yung LRT na yun nung unang pinatayo ang UST. Sorry, joke lang!
Oh my God!
Pero I'm so grateful na hindi ko na ginagamit yung LRT na yun. Kasi crack! Oh my God!
Oh my gosh, it's so scary. I'm very grateful na wala na ako sa metro. Because in college, I studied in Manila din. So I had to use MRT from Cavite to Manila, ganyan. Pero ngayon...
Saan mo dati? Paano yung commute mo dati?
Usually kasi mayroong time na abutan kami na bawal na yung pumasok yung bus inside the Taft. Ano tawag din yung along ng Taft.
So, ito yung ERAP, no? Kay ERAP to, no? Yung nagsabi siya na bawal na yung provincial buses sa loob ng Manila.
Hindi. Kay Pinoy yata to.
Okay. Sige, go.
Parang, yun. So, bawal mag-stop hanggang Buendia lang sila. So, from Buendia, we had to take either jeep or LRT to hanggang UN. Ganyan. So, it was a really rough time kasi ang hirap mag-commute. Hindi lang dahil sa, hindi naman ako nasiraan for 4 years in college, but yung feeling that you are running late for class and then wala ka masakyan kasi sobrang puno. Like, seriously? At Buendia yun, gitna na yun, nanggaling pa yun ng Baclaran, mapuntang Monumento. So, grabe yung struggle that time. But, kung nakasakay ako ng MRT, LRT, alam niyo yung struggles, and you can relate. And the scene in this book is very...
Yung worst ever the experience niya is having the door.
Oh my God! Okay, wala nag-report. Like, di ba meron doon parang pwede mong i-report or like emergency? Yeah, the emergency something. Pag once pa naman nasira yung MRT, imagine yung effect ng super haba ng pila ng MRT. Yes. Tapos
4 hours!
dumadating sa point na hanggang doon sa baba na ng hagdan and all that. Lalo na yata ngayon.
Tapos, you see those photos of yung pilahan, tapos you're like, oh,
Mm.
siguro yung station na to is like a busy station like Ayala or Cubao. Tapos makikita mo Magallanes pala siya or
Yes.
yours, and you're like, di ba ito yung unang stop? Bakit ganito na
Hindi
yung
kahaba. Ang wild. Ayan, sorry. Kay Erap
Kaya,
na mayor si Erap. Oh, so hindi ko na naalala. Inisip ko kanina yung tanong ni Kate, presidente si Erap. I'm sorry. I am not
very
that.
grade school pa tayo noon.
Oh my God, yeah. Pero totoo, yan. Yung time na yon. Kaya galit kami dati. Kaya joke lang. Hunger Games mag-commute, totoo. So again, pero very short yung scene na yon in the book, but it's a really nice touch kasi you will really relate to it. So I think that's one of the issues that were discussed in this book. And then ayan, so let's have the next one that I find that really really nice in here is that when Nadine actually explained to Sab what privilege is, it's one of my favorite scenes in the book. And I feel like kasi nga, as I was saying kanina, Sab and Nadine and Pepper actually, they have this privilege that they live in a subdivision. And also, I sorry, nag-move yung phone ko. And so they live in a subdivision. So, and also they have service and they are studying in a nice school. So they have this kind of privilege that when Nadine tried to bring them to like metro and experience all these things and all that stuff that's happening, hindi nila, parang na-shock yung mga bata na ganito pala kagulo dito, and then yung kumakain sila ng mga street foods and yung mga nakita nila na may mga nag-aaway sa kalsada and syempre yung public transpo. So I think one of the remarkable moment for me in here is that when Nadine actually tell Sab and Pepper that there is what we have the privilege. And
Mm-mm.
that's one of my favorite scenes in this book because I feel like if you're going to be a parent someday or you have a younger sibling or cousin or kung sino man in your family, it is a good way for that child to explain that we have this privilege, and it means that there are a lot of people who didn't or who don't experience something that we do. Na parang iba yung treatment sa atin because we are in the middle class or we are high class yung family natin, pinanggalingan natin. And also iba yung treatment kapag nasa lower class ka or nasa poverty line ka here in the Philippines. So it's just that I feel like it's one of the most remarkable moments for me in here because Gail Villanueva actually did a really great job in explaining that one. So any comments about that scene?
I super agree that like Gail was able to make it digestible and understandable for yung target audience ng libro. And kasi there are people who say that, sometimes it's too much to discuss with a child. Parang hindi siya appropriate topic to discuss with children. Privilege, colorism, all of that. Pero I disagree. If you can make it easy naman for a child to understand, which I feel was done very well in this book. There's no reason, I believe, why you shouldn't discuss privilege and all the injustices that can happen in the world to your children. For one thing, it exists, so you might as well prepare them for it. Lalo na if you're a person of color, if you're a queer person, or your child is a queer person, if your child is disabled, or if you are disabled, that's something that you need to. It's sad, but you have to prepare your child for it. Pero you're preparing them for the world. You might as well introduce these things to them also. And
Agree.
the more important thing is whether or not you and your child are part of a marginalized community or not. So this is applicable also to white people, cisgender, heterosexual, able-bodied people, and their kids.
Mm-mm.
Is that it early on plants the seed of compassion.
Yeah,
Na
agree.
there was a twist of fate that granted you all of these this leg up or assistance in the world, It doesn't make you a bad person. You're not a bad person for being cisgender, heterosexual, white, able, rich. You're not a bad person for that. Unless you're a multi-billionaire, in which case, yes, you are a bad person. But like yung upper middle class, yung may kaya in life, yun, it doesn't make you a bad person to be born into those families. What matters is that you recognize that you were given this kumbaga, you started out in life with an advantage. And
Agree.
it's it doesn't make you a bad person, but what does determine if you are a bad person or not, or a good person, is how you decide to use that advantage. Are you going to claim na walang nagtulong sa'yo and you got here all by yourself? Or are you going to acknowledge that you had this advantage and use it to help other people? Like, um, that's why I really hate it when you hear stories of like, oh, Amazon started in a garage. Oh, Apple started in a garage. Oh, Microsoft started in a garage. PayPal started in a garage. They built it from the ground up. Blah blah blah. Like, yes, I'm not discounting the fact that these men, these rich billionaires, were probably business or technology geniuses. But at the same time, galing sila sa mga mayayaman na pamilya na kaya nilang
Exactly.
ipag-aral in Harvard, in Yale, and whatnot. Kaya nilang isalo yung fact na wala silang trabaho or kung magkaroon ng debt yung kumpanya, kaya nilang isalo. So, parang yun. And ang intense din talaga ng feeling kong yun when you hear in the news here in the Philippines about for example, this person bought a house and they're only 20 years old. This person owns several businesses and they're only 19. Pero pag tingin mo sa surname nila, Ayala, Elizalde, Aguirre, Nobel, Coco, obviously you're going to be successful. So like, it doesn't make you a bad person. I'm not saying na automatic kung pinanganak ng Ayala, mas magandang tao. But you have to acknowledge the fact that you didn't do anything special to be at such an advantage in life. You were just born into the right circumstances. And along with that acknowledgement, you have to do something. Alam mo kasi naniniwala talaga ako na if you were blessed so much in life to be born into a wealthy family, to be born not disabled, to be born you're cisgender, heterosexual, there's nothing in your life that makes it institutionally difficult for you. I feel like you have the moral obligation kasi to be more giving rather than
I
less.
agree.
And on a smaller scale, that's discussed in this book. Because obviously, I mean, Sam and Nadine are from a well-off family, but obviously they're not Ayalas. So like, may discussion pa rin of how they have to acknowledge yun na yung relative privilege nila in comparison to sino yung friend ni Nadine, nakalimutan ko na yung pangalan.
Si Jepoy.
Yun, oo, in comparison to him. So, and it
Yeah.
made it easily digestible for a child. Parang a 12-year-old, an 11-year-old would really understand it and be able to comprehend it. So, I said this to you kanina before we started the live na parang yun talaga yung pinaka-strength ni Gail as an author, na kaya niyang i-take yung complicated concept na yan and make it easy for a 12-year-old to understand.
I agree. Well, talking about Jepoy, I think his character is also a good representation in the book because he's the one that is not that didn't came from a well-off family. Hindi siya nakapagtapos ng college because yung parents niya weren't able to do that. Hindi ko maalala yung parents background niya, but I what I remember is that he's working in a computer shop kasi kailangan niya mag-earn ng money. So he's like the representation of the majority ng yung mga kabataan sa Pilipinas na hindi nila kayang makapag-college. So it's also a good introduction din sa utak ni Sab and the Pepper in this story that nga no, there are people like Kuya Jepoy that they are not as blessed and as lucky as we are that we have this kind of privilege. So I think it's one of also important din yung character na nilagay ni Gail using Jepoy's POV in the story. So it also talks about a lot about privilege. And yun, may nangyari kasi din in the story. We're not going to spoil it to you, but there's something that happened in the story that parang na-realize din talaga nila ni Sab and the Pepper that oh nga, we have this privilege. It's eye opening for them, for that to experience that kind of scene
Mm-mm.
in the story. So it's kind of the latter part na ng book. So we're not gonna spoil that. Um, Sabi dito ni Sai, I remember reading a column about privilege and how those who can risk it all the way without being bothered of what will happen if they fail because they have something to hold on even at rock bottom. And yeah, we agree with this. And we love Kate's explanation on how privilege must always come with acknowledgement. Exactly. That's how Nadine actually tried to explain that to Sab and Pepper, that it always comes with recognition that you're privileged. And also, if you can help, if you are able to help, please do, because it comes with your, you can you're just a channel of blessing, kumbaga. Kaya nandyan yung blessings na yan for you. So, lastly, of the like societal topics in this book is having a parent who is LGBTQIA plus in the community. And I this is not really a spoiler kasi in the beginning naman sasabihin din naman sa'yo ni Gail that yung dahil nga broken family na sila, so yung dad nila is nasa ibang bahay pero meron siyang boyfriend, nakalimutan ko na yung name, but
Ako
yeah,
rin.
I think it's one of also the good representation in the book that it's being accepted, it's being normalized because it's normal, in a Filipino family to have a relationship that is, queer relationship. So I think it's one of the strong points then na meron dito is yung ang dami niya talagang ipapaintindi sa'yo. Kung ikaw yung 12, sabi ko nga, sana binabasa ko to ng 12 years old ako, okay, ng 13 years old ako. Kasi, di ba, parang you
Same
would get to
exact
understand,
opinion.
right? Like, you would get to understand a lot of things if this book is existing already during that time. So, yun, one of the things then na I really love this is yung acceptance with the LGBT, or the queer relationship in the book. So, any comments
Yeah.
about that?
Um, the thing then kasi like, diba, I mentioned earlier na privilege sometimes is seen as like it's too tough of a topic to discuss with kids. The thing is, sometimes actually hindi sometimes, a lot of
Of
times,
time.
people treat queerness as also it's too difficult a
So,
topic for kids to understand. So parang,
yeah.
like, oh, don't, bakit may mga, like, kunwari, if it's a kids show, magsasabi sila may gay relationship sa kids show na yan, tapos magsasabi sila na, bakit ka nagpapakita ng gay relationship sa kids show, eh, ang laswa-laswa. Pero they're okay with showing, like, a
Straight.
heterosexual
Yeah.
relationship on the same TV show. So,
Yeah.
parang the the homophobia jumped out po. Ano lang yung ilaw ko, ayusin ka lang. Pero yun, the thing that I really appreciate, tama ka naman na I really appreciated how it shows that kind of relationship to kids already. And it normalizes it. Actually, thank you for bringing up that phrase kasi exactly that's what I was thinking. Na it normalizes it talaga na
Mm.
there's nothing to be afraid of. Kumbaga, in a gay relationship, it's more or less the same really as a straight relationship. It's like, love, commitment, all of that. It's just that
Agree.
the gender of the people in that relationship may not be the usual boy girl that you're used to. So I appreciated that. And also like I really love how it's shown that this is something that you can change or have differently as an adult. Kasi sorry, ayusin ko na ulit yung ilaw ko.
It's okay.
What happens kasi sometimes in, uh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Ayan, okay. Sorry kasi yung ilaw ko na,
Okay
ayan.
lang.
So, what happens kasi more often than not when you have gay relationships, queer relationships portrayed in media is it's portrayed as malaswa or deviant or kinky. And there's nothing wrong with kinky, but sometimes you just want to have a gay relationship that is domestic and boring and just like every other straight relationship out there. Like, um, alam mo, sorry if you're a fan, Kat, and if anyone out there is a fan of this book. Pero it's why this reason is why I really did not like Call Me by Your Name.
Oh no,
Um,
I haven't read that book yet.
so
Sorry.
I apologize in advance to anyone watching this live stream who is a fan of Call Me by Your Name. And this is not a judgment on your reading taste, okay? Pero for me, why I really didn't like that book is because it portrays a gay relationship as being sordid and dramatic and kinky and parang alam mo yung pwede siyang maging feature of like this drama or um yung tipong mga radio shows na pinapakinggan mo sa FX, yung sobrang dramatic. Ganun yung vibe niya. And like sometimes, you just wanna have queer relationships that are ordinary, romantic, sweet, domestic, boring.
True.
And we get that here. Kasi Sab's dad, nung naghiwalay na sila ng nanay niya, he ended up in a relationship with another man. And it's vanilla. It's boring. They're just being together and doing their art and being dads, Sab and Nadine and all of that. So sometimes well, actually not sometimes, it really is nice to see queer representation that's just chill, rather than being all about drama. And not that there's anything wrong with drama and sex, but sometimes you just want to see queer relationships that are sweet and domestic. So yun, I
Yeah.
really appreciated that.
Mm-hmm. Like it's not like a big deal anymore to even to the children in the story. Like it's just parang normal. That's it. It sometimes. Oh yeah, I agree. Hindi pala sometimes, but most often, parang mas maganda rin makita like there's no conflict at all. It's not being a big deal in the story, and also there's a part in here that I was really laughing at Pepper kasi meron silang na meet na old friend ng dad nila. Tapos parang inisip nila na, what? Siguro inaagaw mo yung daddy ni Sab dun kay Tito ano, yung sa boyfriend. And like, oh my God, that is so funny kasi iniisip, like, para sa isip nila, yung dad lang niya at saka yung boyfriend nito yung para sa isa't isa. Like, they don't see it the other way. Kahit yung parents nga nila, diba, they don't see it na magkasama pa or whatever. So, I think it's very nice in the book. So, ayun, that's the last of the topic that we're
Alam mo,
discussing
agree
the
ako
book.
sa sinabi ni Reg na okay
Go.
lang sa kanila magpakita ng cheating sa
Ay, oo,
mga
kanina pa.
okay.
Teleserye. Oh, like,
Like,
oo nga,
like,
no?
wala silang problema with showing like all of those infidelity and toxic relationships and whatnot. Pero God forbid na magkaroon ng relationship sa isang TV show na loving and respectful tapos pareho silang babae. Just ko.
Just, ay, nako. Filipino culture. Ayan. Okay, meron din dito si Input si Sai. Sabi niya, may nakita siyang comment about Steven Universe. It's a cartoon show. Having queer characters kissing and it shouldn't be allowed for kids to watch. Which is really annoying, no? And it's very homophobic. Because we don't say that in a heterosexual relationship at all, right? So
Exactly.
yeah. Again, that's the last serious topics that we discussed. I guess we are down to our last and final question for the live. Again, what's your final rating? Even though I already know it. Yeah, your rating with the book and
Ayan, my final
your
rating.
conclusion.
In conclusion, my final rating of My Fate According to the Butterfly is a huge 5 stars, obviously. So, yun.
Yeah. Final
Kasi,
thoughts about the book.
final thoughts about the book. Well, I really would recommend this to readers of all ages. I mean, I am not super a big fan of middle grade, unless it's middle grade by like, I usually only read middle grade books that are written by authors of color, to be honest. Like, hindi na ako masyado mag-stray into middle grade by white authors. But this particular book, My Fate According to the Butterfly, whether you're into middle grade or not, kahit na you're usually into adult fantasy. And like everyone who follows my blog and my booktube knows that adult science fiction and adult fantasy is the books that I really read. Pero I really would recommend this book to anyone, regardless of what your preferred genre or age range is, just because it is so impactful in a quiet way. And especially, my gosh, I cannot recommend this book enough to Filipinos in particular. Kasi I remember when I first saw the cover, I got emotional. Because it was the first time that I'd ever seen a girl on a book cover who I know ganun na ganun yung itsura ko nung 12 years old ako. So like it was the last time that I felt that way about a book cover was when lumabas yung cover ng Favorite It's Nothing. Kasi kakulay ko si Jay, di ba? Yung apelido niya sounds like yung mga apelido natin. So, nakakaano. So really, if you really want to see your culture, your life as a Filipino portrayed in a book, this book so much, grabe. And what I also really liked about it is that in terms of Filipino culture, kahit hindi ka taga Manila, this book has something for you. Eh. So like, obviously the MRT scene, yung mga nakatira here in Manila who ride the MRT every day will laugh at that. Pero kahit na hindi ka taga Manila, there's a lot of things here na it's really scream Philippine tea, like the colors and the dress, and then yung bumili sila ng kwek-kwek.
Yeah. The quick quick.
So yun, resounding 5 stars. I would recommend this to anyone really. It's such a good story about family and serious issues, interspersing all of that together and identity also. So love this book
Yeah.
so much.
I agree. Ayan, gumagalaw na naman yung cellphone. Sorry. Yeah, okay. Thank you for that, Kate. Actually, I also gave this book 5 stars. I am expecting that I will like this book because I love middle grade books. But then it surprised me in a very natural way because I feel very represented in the book. Again, ang dami namin resemblance, ni Sab. And I feel like this is a must read for every Filipino out there that read books, even though you're an adult. Kahit anong age, I think this is, even though we already know what's happening in the Philippines, we're very aware. This is like a great reminder. Also, parang I'm very excited someday, if God wills, na magkaroon ako ng sarili kong child. Like, I will definitely make them read this book because it's really a nice it's a book that explains a lot of things to children that even I as a teacher, I don't know if I can do that on my own. So I appreciate this book a lot and I highly recommend it to everyone. So yeah, again, kahit anong genre yung binabasa nyo, either it's contemporary or fantasy or sci-fi or hindi kayo mahilig sa middle grade, at least try this one. And it's a nice experience. And again, I agree with Kate na personally, middle grade is not a genre that or like a category na lagi kong binabasa. But this year, I've discovered my love for middle grade because of Erin and Shada Kelly. So it was a really, really nice experience this year. And I thought of doing this book club because I want to promote and highlight more middle grade by BIPOC authors and also, of course, dapat yung mga Filipino authors kasi madami din naman sa atin nagsusulat ng middle grade. So, actually, that's it for this live. I'm done with all the questions that I have here. Kate, do you have anything to add? Or the audience? We still have like 10 viewers. Thank you for staying with us. We appreciate you a lot. We hope that you really pick this up if you haven't yet. Wala nga lang paperback. I think it will come out, the paperback will come out next year. Nakita ko lang somewhere in the releasing date or something. But it's available in hardcover sa fully book. Kaya lang medyo nagkakaubusan ng stock. So I hope you get your copy. It's worth it. I swear. It is worth it.
Yung mga taga-Sals, meron sa fully booked sa Alabang Town Center. So,
or kayo magpa-transfer na lang kayo sa fully book.
or ipa-transfer nyo. Pwede
yeah. Kasi it's really worth it for me. At first, parang sabi ko, ang expensive talaga ng mga middle grade books, nakakainis. Pero for me, it's worth every box because you will really learn a lot. So that's it. If you have any more to add, yung mga nanonood dyan, salamat po, nandiyan pa rin kayo. Ayan, again, Gail has another book to come next year. It's Sugar and Spite. I'm very excited to get a copy of that one as well. Whew. Okay, kasi medyo maganda yung mga visuals ni Gail Villanueva doon. Yung mga Yema ba yun? Yema balls.
And Sugar and Spite, by the way, is from the representation. So if you guys may mga guys out there na if this one is very Manila oriented, Sugar and Spice is very prom D. So ayun, go for it.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for that.
Diba?
Ayan. Okay, so yeah, that's it, guys, for tonight. Just a reminder: the book pick for this month is going to be Ghost Squad by Claribel Ortega. Um, I am looking actually for a co-host because Kate mentioned na I could search for some Latinx booktubers that might want to join the live show, but I haven't hindi pa ako nakakuha ng response from any of them. But that would be the book pick for this month. It's Ghost Squad by Claribel Ortega. It has a Dominican representation. It's about kids going into a ghost hunt or something, and it's a very very nice book. So I hope that you could also read that one and join me next month. Thank you so much again, Kate, for being
You're
here. I'm
welcome.
so
Super
happy that
excited
you.
to see.
Yes, thank you. That's it, and bye, guys. Thank you so
Bye.
much. All right, I'm gonna end now.